Hello YouTube, this is Bruno. Minecraft 1.20 is around the corner and maybe many of you will be starting a new world. I will, certainly. So let's talk about starter farms once again. And this is a universal mob farm. In a video a couple of weeks ago I showed you how to improve the rates by 50% by changing the clock on top. And this farm is built high in the sky. And usually you would build a farm as low as possible to get the best rates. But the difference here is that a player is standing here and uses a looting sword to kill the mobs. Let's have a look at the rates. You get over 18k items. This is pretty much double hopper speed. You get 2 shulker boxes of bones, 2 shulker boxes of arrows, of gunpowder and of rotten flesh. You'll also get a decent amount of string, and which is also interesting, you get quite a lot of drops that you don't get if you kill the mobs just by fall damage, like spider eyes, and of course bows that can be used to craft dispensers. And even if you witch drops, the farm is built high enough so that you don't have to light up anything on the bottom. So this is 128 blocks over the surface. And of course it doesn't have to be an ocean biome, it can be any biome. Just make sure that you don't get any spawns here on the surface. Now let's compare this farm to a classic farm. This is exactly the same farm, same timings, same build, same number of platforms. This farm is built just on top of the ocean floor, so pretty much as low as possible as you can do without lighting up, which is what you would do if you build this farm, say, on day 1 or day 2 of a new survival world. The mobs are killed by fall damage, and we have a few soul campfires in case a mob spawns with feather falling boots. And even though this farm is considerably lower, the rates are about 50% less. We just have under 2200 bones, same for arrows, rotten flesh, gunpowder. If we compare this to the other farm, we have about 50% less of the drops that are interesting, namely bones and gunpowder and perhaps string. By the way, this is of course gnembons design, if you haven't noticed, which is kind of a standard design for early game mob farms. And of course both mob farms give decent rates, but why not use the looting option? So first, why don't we build a kill chamber for this farm here at sea level? Well, that's easy. We would have to light up all of the caves in the vicinity. Now this position is actually quite good, because a lot of the caves are filled with water. But there are still quite a few caves where mobs will spawn, and this will significantly reduce the rates of the farm. If we want to get the good rates, we would have to light up all of the caves in a 125 block radius. Which is probably not what you want to do on the first day of a survival world. So let's have a look at the looting setup. The top of the farm is completely unchanged. We have a clock, we have spawning platforms, mobs are flushed down, and usually you would kill them here using fall damage or soul campfires. But instead, we let them fall onto a water stream, and the water stream pushes them to a player that is standing here. And the way to use this farm is you pretty much press up here against the left corner so that you don't get a line of sight to the creepers, because a creeper exploding is the one thing that can really hurt you here. And then you just swing away with some food source on the offhand, and you hold right click and you do periodic attack. The farm also gives a decent amount of XP. Now here we had a mob with thorns which pushed us back, so if we truly stand AFK we will still hit the mobs and get some XP. And it took me less than 3 minutes to get to level 30, which is of course less than dedicated XP farms like an Ender, but still not too shabby and certainly enough to repair your tools, which is very nice at the start of a game. Usually at the time when you don't have a gold farm or an Ender. Now, there are a few things that you need to consider. First, climbing spiders can be a problem, because if you have a corner where they just sit and fill up the mob cap, then your farm won't run. On the other hand, it's not a problem if a few spiders climb back up all the way, because they will just get pushed back down by other mobs coming in. But spiders are also the reason why we built these water streams 32 blocks over the player and not closer. The sphere you can see here is the despawn sphere, 32 blocks. A few spiders may climb up to the wall of these water streams here, and they will just despawn after a while. And it appears that quite a few spiders climb up. Actually, I made a spider trap using powder snow, and surprisingly the rates got worse, because again most of the spiders are dropped back in. The second thing is that the player is wedged in here using these trapdoors and the cakes. So the killing chamber has to be built on the east side of the farm, but otherwise the farm is not directional. Now the reason for that is that you sometimes get mobs that have thorns on their armor, which will give you damage and push you back. And if they push you back too far, you won't be able to hit the mobs and to pick up the XP. So the cakes have just the right hitbox to keep the player in exactly the place where it needs to be to pick up all this XP and to stay in range. The sorting system we use is a very simple sorter array, but we do use 2 sorters for each item type. Well, these items come in bunches, unless you have 2 item filters. A lot of them will go past. Here is a simple unstackable items filter. All of the remaining items that aren't filtered out will go into this hopper. And all of the unstackable items like armor and bows will be sorted into this chests. Some of these bows even have decent stats. So power 2, if you combine 2 of them, you have power 3. Some have punch. And later, all of this armor can be rather helpful if you use the armor stance data pack, where you need armor to outfit your statues. The remaining items will go in here. We have a bit of spillover. Now if we just get rid of those. But mostly you get the extra drops like redstone dust, potatoes, carrots. So if you haven't found a village yet that has these. And of course spider eyes if you want to cure your villagers. The rotten flesh is simply burned. Later in the game you'll probably want to do shulker box loaders here. We use 2 droppers to put the items in the water stream leading to the sorting system. We are double hopper speed so we don't anything backing up. Here we have a water stream originating here, moving all of the drops and the mobs into this corner, and this is where the player stands. But that's it. The glass of course can be replaced with any building blocks here. The glass is just so that you can see what's going on. But otherwise this is really not more complicated than to build this farm down on the ocean level. Now of course to use the full potential of this farm you need a sword that has mending and sweeping edge and of course looting. Now I may build this farm on day 1. But I will use it quite deep into my world, because usually the output of gunpowder is quite sufficient for me, and for the bones I might build a bone meal farm later, but it will also set me up for the first few weeks. And early in the game, before I have a gold farm or maybe an ender, it's quite nice to have a reliable source of XP. And I usually build a little trading hall as early as possible to get mending and a few other indispensable enchantments. So the idea is to replace the killing chamber on day 1 with the traditional killing chamber using soul campfires and just hoppers. And later when I have mending and looting and sweeping edge, I will put in the looting killing chamber. So I will build this mob farm if I restart in 1.20. It's really not big, it's 11 platforms. So this farm can probably be built in 90 minutes. If you go with a simple storage system, just a few chests thrown down at first. It uses minimal resources, so here I use just 2 ice blocks, you could probably get away with 1. So yeah, this truly is a farm that you can build pretty much on the first or second day of a new survival world. And it will set you up with enough gunpowder, bones, and even a bit of armor for the first few days. Thanks for watching, leave a like if you enjoyed this episode, and see you next time. Bye bye!